Abracadabra.
Welcome to the Abracadamn Podcast, and I'm your host, Danny Whitson. I hope all my Abracadammits are having a good week. I know I'm having a good week. It's been a pretty good one so far. I want to say thank you to everyone who has liked the Abracadamn Facebook page, and thank you for the new subscribers and followers to the podcast and listeners. Thank you so much. Continue spreading the word. It means a lot to me. I'm excited to announce that the Abracadamn Podcast has some new sponsorship. So let me just start things off by saying this episode is brought to you by Bob's Washboard Wash and Fold Service. Now, I don't know about you, but I hate doing laundry. I can't stand it. No, I got better things to do in life than to fold my socks. So let Bob's Washboard Wash and Fold Service do that for you. Do your complete wash in only 4 minutes. 2 minutes to drop it off and 2 minutes to pick it up. Drop off your laundry and go live your life, baby. Go find something fun to do. Go see a movie. Go catch butterflies. Go paint trees. Whatever it is you like to do, go do it. Come back and your laundry will be clean, folded, and ready to go. Also, if you're traveling to the Knoxville area or Anderson County area and you need somewhere to do your laundry, Bob's Washboard Wash and Fold will take care of you. Definitely check them out at 122 Randolph Road, Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and give them a call at 865-951-3237, and give our Facebook page a like at Bob's Washboard. Also, this episode is brought to you by Mad Science Judo and Jiu-Jitsu. Now, I've been watching the Cobra Kai series on Netflix here lately, and it got me thinking about some things. Like, what would you do, Danny, if you were attacked? I mean, would you really, really, truly know how to defend yourself? Now, most of us think, like, we can get away with pick up a wrench or something, or maybe do the molar and curly eye poke. But let's be honest, you wouldn't know what to do. That's why you need to let Coach Ted at Mad Science Judo and Jiu-Jitsu teach you what to do. Now, Coach Ted is a 20-year military veteran, and he served in Iraq and Afghanistan, so this guy knows real-world self-defense. He's a 4th-degree black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, he's a 4th-degree black belt in Judo, a 2nd-degree black belt in Kempo, and a 1st-degree black belt in Kung Fu. The list goes on and on. This guy's got more belts than a J.C. Penney's and a Belk. Got more than a Goodwill. And right now, they've got an introductory special going, a 2-week trial program for just $39.99. You get 2 weeks of unlimited classes and a training uniform to wear. Definitely can't beat this. Be sure to check out Mad Science Judo and Jiu-Jitsu, located at 697 Emory Valley Road, Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Give them a call at 865-440-2210 and check them out on the internet at madsciencejudoandjujitsu.com. Now, besides being attacked, another thing we all need to think about is, what would you do if your car broke down? You'd be stuck. Yeah. Who would you call? I mean, that's a big fear of mine. What would I do? I'm no mechanic. I'll be honest with you. I don't know anything about cars. I don't. But that's okay. Because if you do break down, let Will's Towing take care of you. That's right. Will Roberts at Will's Towing. Professional service, fast and safe. Will's Towing. Anytime your car breaks down, any trouble, don't hesitate to call Will at 865-272-5300, located at 2081 Oak Ridge Turnpike, Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Let Will's Towing be your first choice for any of your towing services. All right. I am ready for this week's episode. This guest is somebody who I've known for years, and I've actually got to watch his career take off like a rocket. I don't know if some of you guys remember, but back on America's Got Talent season 14, this guest is the third place winner in my book. He's a very funny stand-up comedian, and he just keeps on excelling with his career, and I'm rooting for him the whole way. If you guys would sit back and relax and enjoy my fun conversation this episode I had with stand-up comedian Ryan Niemiller. All right, we got Ryan Niemiller here. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, my friend. How are you?
Doing good, hanging in there. How, well, I tell you what, let's do this. I think a lot of people do know you now.
Yes.
A lot of people do know you, but just for some of those weirdos that have been living under a rock, let people know who you are.
Sure. So I'm Ryan Niemiller, go by the Cripple Threat of Comedy. Most people will know me as the third place finisher on America's Got Talent season 14 and a semifinalist on AGT The Champion season 2.
That's super cool. Now, America's Got Talent, you know, it has been, how long has that show been airing? That's been on for a while now, hasn't it?
I don't know the exact year, but they just finished season 15. Wow. I was on season 14. So yeah, it's been a bit.
It has. And what number were you on? What season?
Season 14. Season
14. Okay. Now I tell you what, that's interesting right off the bat. If you don't mind, I mean, what was your experience a little bit like on America's Got Talent?
I mean, it's still a little surreal that it even happened. I finally got a little bit of time to think about it because we're in the middle of a pandemic. So I haven't been working as much as I was before. But yeah, it's wild, man, because like that show, you know, I mean, we've known each other for a long time. We've done shows together, you know, over the years. So you know, I've been doing this for a while. You know, Absolutely. I was 12 years into comedy when I got on AGT. So, you know, to kind of go from that, and I was doing okay. I could pay the bills with comedy before, but it was very much, you know, paycheck to paycheck, just kind of staying afloat, making it happen. So to go from that, and then you get on a platform like America's Got Talent, where literally overnight people just like know who you are. It is a wild experience. It's one of the few credits for comedians that's instant. It is so quick because you go from no one caring to millions of people see you at once. And if you do well, it's like, oh, damn, okay. It comes at you fast. But it's changed my life. I would not have traded the experience for anything.
You know, that's interesting because last time you were at the Grove Theater here in town, you know, it was before America's Got Talent came out.
Yes.
And, you know, and I even told people, I said, you know, you could have saw this guy for $10 before. Yep. Now you're going to pay, you know.
Yep.
But, I mean, that's awesome, man. And, you know, I don't think it really, I mean, of course I was rooting for you the whole way. Of course. I was a little biased, but I mean, sure. You've always been a great comic, and you have put in the work, you have put in the time, and you deserve every bit that comes your way, bro.
Well, I appreciate that. It means a lot. And for me, one of the things I'm most proud of about having got on that show is that no comics seem to have been upset that I got the opportunity. You know, we are by nature a very jealous and petty bunch. It's just the nature of it, because it's instinct. You know, you see somebody that you like know or you've worked with before or whoever it might be, and you see someone get something, and you're like, well, shit. I mean, I did better than him at that one random show in Tennessee, so I should be there. It's the, you know, so like. But as far as I know, everyone seemed to be like supportive because, you know, they knew I put in the time. You know, it was a situation where, you know, I'm an old road dog. I told those stories on AGT about sleeping in my car so I could get to gigs and all that. Like, that's 100% true. I hustled, and luckily it finally paid off.
Yeah, I'll never forget, you know, the first night I met you, you know, you were like, man, I think you said you got like an 8-hour drive ahead, you know, and I was just like, man, you know, he's going further than I am, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, that's so funny, and it's so true. You know, people don't realize or understand how jealous we do get. And, you know, I had to let this go. I was jealous for the longest of Piff, the Magic Dragon.
Oh yeah.
And this is a true, really happened one time. And I think the universe was trying to tell me to shut the hell up. I was on my way to a gig and somebody, another comic was like, what do you think about that guy Piff? You know? So I'm sitting there going off. He wears a dragon suit. He's a hack. And yeah, I can't stand. All of a sudden I get a notification on my phone and I look and I open it was Twitter and it says, Piff is now following you. And I thought, this is the weirdest thing. I'm just going to shut up. All right. This is maybe, but now, you know, I've kind of learned to, and it's not that I don't know Piff, you know, it's not that I dislike him. It's just I was jealous, you know?
Yeah. Well, if it makes you feel better, I do know Piff. We kind of got to become buddies because, you know, he's an AGT guy too. Like that's kind of where he really blew up. And he was one of my biggest kind of supporters. Like we had never directly met before this, but he just liked what I did on the show. So he like helped me get votes. And I appeared on one of his virtual shows earlier during the pandemic. And we're just kind of buddies. If it makes you feel better though, he is a good guy.
Awesome.
so you don't got to worry. He's not a dick. Either that or I have bad taste in people, one or the other. So
well, you're friends with me, so I don't know, bro.
Yeah, I was gonna say now I had to think about that for a second. I was like, well, shit, if I'm on this podcast, my barometer clearly is pretty low. So, ugh.
All right, man. So now everybody knows you're a comic. They all know your talent's there. But what about you know, and there's some other things you're into? Like I know you are a wrestling fan.
I am that's where my brain started on being an entertainer. It's you know, when I this sounds like one of those kind of like nonsense stories that, you know, I can say it now because it worked out. But like when I was growing up, like I'm this might surprise some people. I'm not a confident guy naturally. Just as a person, I am not a confident guy, except for when it came to, you know, what I was going to do for a living. Like I didn't know exactly it was going to be comedy when I was younger, but in my head I was just like, I'm going to be known. I'm going to be like I don't want to, like, you know, star is a little bit silly, but just for lack of a better term, you know, I was like, I'm going to be a star. People are going to know who I am. I thought it was going to be pro wrestling. Like that's what my first love always was. You know, that's kind of what I got tied into. It was what really hooked me as a kid. Just because, like, even then, like, I knew it was silly. Like anyone that likes wrestling, it's silly, it's goofy, it's over the top, and that's the appeal. That's why it's fun. But just seeing, you know, watching something like WrestleMania and seeing somebody have 80,000 people in the palm of their hand, like there's power to that, even if it is in a kind of goofy, different world. So I always thought that was going to be what it was. And then I trained to be a wrestler for 3 months, and it hurt like hell. And I went, no, I'm good. I'll just tell jokes about my wiener instead. That seems a little safer.
That's it. I never knew you trained, man.
Yep.
Now, you know, I know a few wrestlers that, well, I mean, I don't want to say I know, but, you know, I've worked and done some of the festivals and stuffs, you know, with them. And I see that, you know, they are athletes.
Yeah.
And, you know, and they're also great entertainers. So there's you know, there's a lot of stuff going on there. You have to admire.
For me, it was always like, it was the hybrid of two things that I love. Because like I'm a huge sports fan. So, you know, I'm a huge baseball, football, basketball. Like I love sports. And I'm also a theater kid. Like I have, you know, my degree is in theater, and I did improv, and I'm a stand-up, you know. So like for me, pro wrestling kind of, for better or worse, mixes both of those. It's acting, it's theatrical, it's spectacle, but it's also like people who are good at that are also super athletes. You know, they're all most of them are former football players. They're former real athletes who are now, you know, doing the fake stuff. But like you still got to be, that stuff's hard, man. I played real sports all growing up. It was not nearly as hard as the fake training was.
Yeah, I hear like even the refs have to go to like the wrestling school, don't they?
Yep, because they have to know, go through all the bumps, because if, you know, there's refs will take falls and get beat up and stuff too, so they got to be able to do it safely, and you got to be in good shape to be a ref. Like I refed a couple of indie shows, like that's about as far as I got in the actual. I never wrestled a match, but I got about that. Even being a ref, you're running around all over the damn place. You gotta. It's like I compare it to being an MC at a show, because like you still have to go out there and do the comedy. You're still doing the work. No one cares that you're there. Like people don't look at you. They're not fans of you. They don't care about that. But you also have all these extra responsibilities. Like the host has to like know the announcements and get everyone's credits right. And, pro wrestling ref has to like make sure everyone's safe and like call for the things on the fly and get, they pass a lot of information along and keep everything moving. And so, yeah, it was fun. I think I made the right choice overall to not stick with that. My body's a wreck from telling jokes. I can only
I was about to say. Like. Yeah. I mean, comedy's rough enough on your body. Now you know some wrestlers, right? Some
I do.
Some pretty famous guys.
Yeah. Part of it's just it's been dumb luck. I say this jokingly, but I think I've gotten to become more friends with wrestlers through comedy than I ever would have through wrestling. Because like in hindsight, I'm not a good enough athlete. I probably would have never got far enough in,
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing I admire is the lifestyles and because I will go on YouTube and I will watch some of these, what do they call it? With shoots, wrestling shoots,
interviews. Yeah.
Shoot interviews, which amazes me because, when we were kids growing up, they had the kayfabe, stuff. So you didn't really know the personalities behind the scenes, and getting to see that is really interesting to me. But now as an entertainer who works the road, I see these guys who live that same lifestyle, and there's almost something like we can relate with them a little bit.
Yeah. See, I have found just over the years of like becoming friends with some wrestlers, guys that are in WWE and NXT right now, guys that are in AEW right now. The journey can be very similar for us. It's the end product is different. What we're actually providing as a service is different. But I mean, I can totally relate to driving 12 hours to get to a gig where you get paid in food or a little bit of gas money, and you share a hotel with 3 other comics, or you all carpool so that you can make it there. Like the lifestyles are very similar. It's just what the actual product is different. So that's why I think there's an abnormal percentage of stand-up comics who love wrestling, and most of the wrestlers I know love stand-up comedy. Like they want to be stand-up comics as well. So there's a lot of crossover between the two weird ass worlds.
I tell people all the time, wrestling's a lot like magic too. They're everyone knows they're both not real, and every now and then you get hit with a steel chair. So
yeah, basically. Well, with your act, I mean, sure, yeah, exactly. Someone's gonna whip a chair at you. That's gonna happen.
But okay, well, who is your guy? Who is your favorite wrestler?
My favorite wrestler all time, easily Chris Jericho.
Oh, super cool. I think Jericho could have been a comic, bro.
Yeah, he probably could have. Yeah, one of the most surreal things, I will name drop this all day, but one of the most surreal things that has happened because of AGT is I've got to become friends with Chris Jericho.
Oh, that is awesome.
Like we're buddies because he because he liked what I did. He didn't have to say yes to this, but they asked him, and he came in and filmed something with me for the finals of AGT. He was my celebrity duet. For anyone who hasn't watched the show, when you make to the finals, all the acts that are there, they do like a celebrity performance. And for like someone like a singer, it's easy because they just get another singer and you sing a duet. You can't really duet a comedy show. It doesn't really work that way. So we filmed because I had done I did a lot of like pro wrestling related promotion during my run. So, my fan base is called Club Nub. I'm the Crippled Threat, so it's like I did a lot of that type of stuff. And so when they asked me, they were like, okay, give us a list. Like, who are your favorite wrestlers? And, I kind of gave them a list of a few, but Jericho was the number one. And the fact that, they asked him to do it, Jericho's in a position in his career where he doesn't need to be on America's Got Talent to help his brand. Like he's fine. but he took a look at what I did, and I guess he liked it enough and knew I was a fan of his that he agreed to do it, on his, part of his travel schedule. He kind of fit that in. So we filmed this skit. And if that would have been the end of it, that would have been a dream come true for me, because it was, we got along great. We basically just improv'd most of the skit that we did. We had a couple bullet points that they wanted us to do, but we just kind of, we were winging it. It was awesome. It was so much fun. If that would have been the end of it, cool. But then after that, it sort of kind of snowballed a little bit. I happened to be doing shows in Tampa last November before everything shut down, and he lives in Tampa. So he saw that I was doing some shows down there, and it was Thanksgiving weekend. So he invited me over to his house for Thanksgiving. So I had Thanksgiving at Chris Jericho's house.
Dude, that is so cool, man.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I know, like the cliche or whatever is don't meet your heroes. I'm kind of glad I did, because it's one of those things that, like, as a performer, we've all seen it. There's plenty of people whose work you like, and they turn out they're a dick. It's just the nature of humans. But for have someone that, like, you like that much, and because, like, adult me now, 38-year-old me is like, it's awesome. I have this cool new friend. We kind of text, we shoot the shit. He's such a good dude. 16-year-old me is going. I'm just like, it's such a crazy, weird life that I live now, and I'm very grateful for it.
That is, man, I have been geeking out on AEW. Just first of all, they've got all the old school guys, which I so love. But now I will say this: I was a little worried the other night whenever I saw Sting come out, because I was like, they got to know he's high risk. Yeah, I mean, he's old now. Come on.
But they can still do something with him, though. Like, that's the cool thing. It's the one nice thing about being, wrestling is not a legit event.
Yeah,
you can work around that, because you're not going to see a 61-year-old guy come back and play in the NFL. But
no.
But if it's a show, you can make that work. You can hide that. Yeah. Even one of the things you mentioned AEW, because I try to watch as much as I can too. One of the craziest things that happened this year is I actually appeared on an episode of AEW.
I didn't know that, man.
Yeah. So when the pandemic had just started and they weren't doing the live shows yet, so everything was kind of stuff. Jericho was doing those Bubbly Bunch skits. So they were just kind of like, everyone was like on their different things, and they kind of edited together. He did one which was a parody of, like, the stuntmen in quarantine. So it was like, I'll kind of try to verbally explain it for an audio podcast, but essentially, it would be like somebody would, like, punch at the camera, and then when the fist went away, it would be a different person and they would get hit. So they would pretend they got punched, and then they would do something. They would kick at the camera, and then a new person would get hit. So Jericho did that. He called it the Manitoba Melee. So it was all the guys from, like, the Inner Circle, and then it was a couple of other AEW guys, and then it was like Kevin Smith, and, like, it was like all these, like, it was, I think Slash might have been a part of it. So there's all these, like, different celebrities, and then he asked, there's a few comics that are in there. He had Gabriel Iglesias, Brad Williams, and then he asked me to do one. So I can technically say that I've been punched by Brad Williams, and I got to headbutt Virgil because of that. So yeah, it was just the craziest thing that, like, I know it was like a silly sketch and it was just, like, fun, but I have technically appeared on a primetime wrestling program, and that's a cool thing for me.
That's a cool credit.
Yeah.
Not like you need credits, but that's a cool credit.
Hey, just for me personally. It's a nice pat on the back for me.
Okay, now we know you're a wrestling fan. Now, something else about you though, you're a hardcore big time gamer, bro.
100%. Yeah, that is that is my nerd passion. That's what I do with my spare time. That's not work.
Now you collect games too. I mean, this is hardcore, right?
I do. Yeah, I'm up to around 2,500 or so right now.
Wow.
From, like, 26 or 27 different consoles. I haven't been able to do it as much this year, which has been sad. But for me, because when I'm on the road, and I was on the road a lot, you kind of know, you've done it as well. The road can be lonely, and you have, like, a family at home as well. So, like, if you're not out in a situation, because, like, I don't drink, I've never drank. It's not a thing that like, and that's not me trying to preach or be my high horse. It's just what I don't do. And then when I'm on the road, so I don't drink. I'm not trying to like go to strip clubs. Like that's just not who I am as a human. But a lot of times I'd be in these weird cities. Like I don't know anyone in Tulsa. Like, what do you do in Tulsa?
Yes.
So, because I always like game anyway. So what I would do on the road is I try to find these like ma and pa shops, that are just like, oh, it's a brick and mortar video game store. And I buy some stuff and I support the local scenes there. So it became like a cool part of the hunt, to give me something to do on the road because you know how it is. Like if you don't do anything, you can it's hotel, show, car, drive. Like it can be lonely. It can really wear on you. So this gave me something positive to focus on. And I'm just a collector by nature.
That's super true. I love to go, especially if it's a place I hadn't been before, and if it is a place I've been before. I've usually found a little mom and pop place, something that like there's some towns where I'm like they got the best beef jerky here, and
Right.
I'll go there and load up on stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's awesome that you do that too, because a lot of guys do drink and they'll spend the time to where they're hanging out, drinking and doing bad things to themselves, which is unhealthy. And
exactly. And just like I think that's the thing that a lot of people, if you don't live this lifestyle, you just don't realize how like mentally taxing it can be, because the way that I always describe it is like the actual performances are the reward for everything else, because the amount of times that people will be like, they'll kind of be jealous. It's like, oh, it's all cool. You get to travel and you get to go to all these cool places. And it's like, yeah, and you get to see a little bit, but for the most part, I'm very familiar with the airports and like Holiday Inns at various big cities.
Horrible drivers and panic attacks. Trying to get there alive, trying to get home alive.
Yeah, and just missing your, I live with my girlfriend. I enjoy spending time with her. I like our dog. It's like, but like you spend a lot of time away from that. So to have these positive things, I never want to like give anyone a pass, but I understand why a lot of entertainers turn to drugs and turn to things like that, because you need something to fill that void. So it could be tough if you're not like ready for it.
And I mean, and no one tells you, about those things. You don't think about the difficulties about getting there and afterwards when you're not on stage, and and the loneliness. The loneliness is a big one.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that I know these aren't an exact comparison, but for me, like I'll just kind of talk from my experience right after AGT. I have friends that have been on AGT before who kind of told me a little bit about, okay, here's how it's going to work. If you make the finals, here's what happens next. It's going to be crazy. And you can hear that and like take it in. But for me, it's like similar to like when you're going to have your first kid. Everyone will tell you, oh, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is what your life's going to be like. You don't really know until you actually have the kid. Then you're like, oh shit, I have to keep this thing alive. Oh, so that's kind of what like the road can be like. You kind of have this like, very sexy visual of how it works, but you don't really know what it actually is till you're in it. Then you're like, oh, okay, this is a little different than I was anticipating.
And realistically, and I mean, I'm not trying to be a downer here, especially anybody listening. I'm not trying to be a downer here. If you're thinking about getting entertainment, definitely do it if that's your dreams. But realistically, most comics don't wind up in the finals of America's Got Talent.
It's true. Yeah, I am a 14-year overnight sensation. That's who I am. So people kind of see the end result. They see it worked out perfectly. Yeah, but it was 12 years of not being married, not having a family, not having a home, barely being able to afford, no health insurance, being gone all the time. Like there's a lot more to it. And then hopefully, if you're lucky and you bust your ass, it works out.
Well, the thing I also admire about you is, and this is something I'm trying to divorce myself from, is nowadays you see these guys that aren't comics. They just make a TikTok video and now bam, they're selling out comedy clubs. They they've never been on stage in their life. And now I do look at those people and I'm kind of like, are you kidding me? But at the same time, I'm trying to, that's one of those things that I feel like, quit focusing, quit looking at someone else's plate,
Yeah. The way that I always look at stuff like that is, even if like artistically, I think that's a little insulting, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
I also know how hard this business is, and I'm never going to fault anyone for trying to make a living and figuring out a way to do it, because this is the thing. I luckily I had this kind of hammered into me early, so they helped me get rid of a lot of like the jealousy thoughts on this. Is there's no such thing as spots in this business. When I got on America's Got Talent, I didn't steal anyone else's spot. If you have something that people want, they will make a spot for you. Like if 1,000 people want to come to a theater to see you, they're going to give you that show. Just because I also am doing a theater, they're not going to tell you no. If they want you on America's Got Talent, they'll put you on there too. They will find a spot. So whatever some TikTok person is doing, or Instagram person, or YouTube person, if they're selling tickets, that's what's important. If you don't want them to get that weekend, learn to sell tickets like they do. Do something, work harder until you get to that point that they're going to give you the weekend too, because you making money does not take money away from me at all. I should just be focusing on how I should make money.
That is a perfect answer too. I totally agree. I think, the sad reality in show business is being good enough is not good enough. Yep. You've got to sell those tickets. You got to put the butts in the seats.
Yeah, we know hundreds of comics, and probably, I don't know the magic word the same, but you probably know tons that are just as good as any of the big name ones. But until you get that thing that people latch onto and want to see, it doesn't matter. It's why I don't get mad. I always use him as an example, and I don't know him personally, and it's not meant to like talk smack, but it's my personal opinion. Someone like Larry the Cable Guy, for instance, I personally do not think is super funny, but the dude makes millions of dollars selling out theaters. So who am I to tell him he's doing it wrong? Like who am I? Clearly people want to see that. So it's not for me, and I'll focus on my thing.
Yeah. And I'm with you. I'm not a big Larry guy, fan either, but he did figure that out. He figured that market out, and, he's made a killing doing it.
Yeah. And good for him, man, because again, like I said earlier, this business is hard. If you can find that thing that people want to see, get it and go for it, because nobody owes you shit.
Let me ask you this now. Now kind of going back towards let's go back towards a video game.
Okay.
Because I think video games are hard.
I just realized that was a video game question, and we kind of got a really deep philosophical business.
We could talk show business all night. But with video games now, dude, I played back in the day, and I quit playing, and I noticed a lot of people when they play online. I never was somebody to play online because I don't want a 9-year-old calling my mama a whore, Right. So tell me, what's your favorite game right now? What are you playing?
What I'm playing right now, I bounce around to a lot of stuff. I actually started Paper Mario, the Origami King, for the Nintendo Switch. My Switch has been one of my favorite things that I've gotten recently, because I can take that on the road when there was a road. It's nice. It's designed to be portable. I play a little bit of everything though. Like I was saying before, I have 26 different consoles. I have as old as the Atari 2600, and I have an Xbox Series X, which just came out last month. So, I have the whole gamut. So it's nice because if I'm in a certain mood, if I want to play something on my sweet 4K TV that's, looks photorealistic and lifelike, I can do that. Or I can make Pac-Man eat dots and ghosts,
Now let me ask you, I did recently buy a game last year for the PS4, and it was. But I only play wrestling games.
Okay.
Those are, and I think they have went downhill horribly. This past one was awful, by the way.
They are not good.
But that's the only kind of games. But I really get into those. I do enjoy those. Now, have you picked up one of these PS5s? Are they? Is that
I haven't got a PS5 yet because like that they're really hard to find. I got lucky and got an Xbox Series X, so that's the new Xbox as well. Essentially, I would have gotten the PS5 too if I would have got lucky on a pre-order. The Xbox is one I just happened to get lucky on a pre-order and it came in. I'll get a PS5 eventually. One of the cool things about being like a retro collector as well, I have 2,500 games, dude. I'm not like, I'm not lacking in anything to play right now. It's just nice to have the new things if you can get them.
Now here's a throwback. This might trip you up. Do you remember something called a TurboGrafx 16?
Absolutely, I have one.
Oh, you do? Oh my God!
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually trying to. They haven't released the pre-orders yet. There's a company called Analog that they kind of make new. I'm gonna mess up the technology because I'm not that smart. But they make like new versions of old consoles that kind of work better on like modern televisions. So like I have a pretty fancy NES and Super Nintendo and Genesis and a Game Boy that I've pre-ordered from them. But they're doing a new TurboGrafx 16 that'll work better on newer TVs because you can't play an NES on a 4K TV, for instance. The 4K TV can't handle it because it can't even imagine why you would have something 30 years old hooked up to it.
The TV's like, really?
Yeah, I again, I don't know the full specs of it, but it's something like 4K is like the step up from 1080, and I think an NES runs at like 240. So like new TVs already don't even have that program because what kind of jackass is putting something that's 240 on a 4K TV? Well, retro video game jackasses are.
That's okay. Now here's one. If you could, if you could leave this reality right now,
okay,
and go to any video game universe, what would it be?
I don't know. I mean, it's a little cliche, but I think the Mushroom Kingdom's pretty dope.
Okay.
Where
cool.
Because the reason that I would say something like that, like I know there's much more kind of like exciting worlds. I'm not worried about a Goomba killing me. You know, I don't want to go to like, Call of Duty World War II or something like I know who I am. I'm a candy ass. Like I can't actually fight anything that's like tough. I can't live in the woods. The Mushroom Kingdom's silly. It's like no one ever actually dies there. It's just goofiness. So
now something else interesting. So you do play online though, correct?
I do play some stuff online, yeah.
Now, whenever you're playing with these people, do they know who you are?
I've had. It's only happened a couple of times recently because my gamer tag is the same thing as all of my stuff that's promoted for my social media. So it's all Cripple Thread 8. Quick plug for my Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram there. Go ahead and follow me. So I have had a few people. One thing was really cool, and it's going to be super nerdy. So I do a lot of achievement hunting. So there's like Xbox has something called Gamer Score. Basically for like doing certain things in games, you unlock these achievements, they're worth points, yada, yada, yada. So there's a website that's called True Achievements. They're basically they do like a ratio thing to try to make it, give it a more accurate view of how difficult these actually are, because not all games are created equal. Some games are very easy and they're worth 1,000 points. Some games are incredibly difficult and worth 1,000 points. So this is trying to find like a more realistic version. So I've been on that site for years, just kind of pretty indiscreet. Nobody knew who I was really. I found a few friends on there, but pretty low key on there. Well, because of, I guess it leaked somehow on there, they found out that I was on that site and on America's Got Talent. So then everyone was like, oh shit, he's one of us. And so now all these people, they and they're nice people. It's very cool. They were super supportive. I got a lot of votes out of it actually because they did like an interview with me, and they kind of did like an update. He's made it to the semifinals, like as the thing went on. It was very cool to have that work. So I've a few people found on down there. I've even had some weird ones though. I do a lot of eBaying to get games, and I've had a couple people, and my screen name is not that on eBay. It's something totally different. I just had it before, and a couple of people have just recognized my name. So I'll buy a game and I give them my address because they have to ship it to me, and they'll be like, "Hey, this is gonna be weird, but are you the dude from America's Got Talent?" And I was like, "Yes, if that makes me get my game faster, yes, that's who I am." So it's cool that people can kind of recognize me a little bit. Like I don't engage with them in that way. I'm not someone who's on microphone calling your mother a whore, as you said, as you put it. But
now, are you back around in your hometown area any, or are you?
Not anytime.
You were in Florida for a while. I remember that.
Yeah, so I've just like any good artist, I'm pretty nomadic. I've lived all over the place over the years. So I'm originally from Indiana. That's my my homeland. Probably when we met, I think I was living in Pensacola, or we had met a little bit before I was moving to Pensacola. I moved back to Indianapolis after that. I'm actually in Southern California now. Okay. So over the summer, my girlfriend lives out here. She teaches in California. I can do my job from anywhere. Didn't make sense for her to, lose her retirement and all that kind of stuff for me to do that. So I'm in California now. Yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. Now, I mean, but I bet you're a big damn deal when you go back home.
Yeah.
I bet that was
my hometown is maybe 3,000 to 5,000 people in the general area. I say this kind of tongue in cheek, but it's weird being the biggest thing that's ever happened in your hometown. Like
that's awesome. Do they have a Ryan Niemiller statue of you peeing or something?
They should. Like I'm the best thing that's happened to my hometown since we got a stoplight. Like that's who I am. We threw a parade when we got a stoplight. All right, so that's like kind of where I'm at from. And that's been cool. Like one of the really neat things is like I still have a couple friends that live back there. So if I'm like on the road and driving through, I will try to stop and say hi. So I've been home a couple times, but I don't usually advertise that like, hey, I'm gonna be there. It was really cool just like seeing the town kind of get behind it. And one of I think for the third round, we filmed something from my high school, and I hadn't been to my high school in 20 years. So we filmed something, one of those kind of like intro packages for my quarterfinals round at my high school. So, my old theater teacher helped us set things up for that. And like, it was just cool to be back and just see how excited people got for everything.
That's super cool. Okay. I tell you what, this is the Abracadamn Podcast, and every guest on the podcast, we have to try some magic.
Okay. Dude, I'm going to tell you right now, before you get started, I've legitimately become a big fan of magic because of AGT. Because like when you're on the road doing comedy, you don't learn, like you don't get to see a lot of like other shows. You're busy working all the time.
Yeah.
But one of my best friends from the show, his name's Dom Chambers. He's a magician from Australia. He made the semifinals. He's going to be like teaching me magic at some point when we actually get to hang out again. I've gotten super fascinated by magic, so I'm really excited for this.
Okay, well, damn it, Ryan, you had to build this up so much. This is absolutely this is an idiot trick, but we're going to go anyways. Here we go.
Okay.
Here we go.
Well, I'm an idiot, so this works out.
Okay. No, what we're going to do, we're going to try to connect through Zoom here, brother. So let's just name any card. Name any card that pops directly in your mind. Go for it.
The 8 of clubs.
The 8 of clubs. Wow.
Correct.
That was impressive. That was no one's ever. So, that could have been really cool though, right? But keep on, they can't see us.
That would have been awesome.
That would have been awesome.
Yes.
Let's see.
That would have been.
If you. There we go. The 8 of clubs. Nice. The Zoom magic.
He's a witch.
He nailed it. Witch. He nailed it, folks. You guys couldn't see this, but Ryan nailed it. This guy's amazing.
I think if there's anything that might be worse than Zoom magic, it's audio only magic. Might be the only thing that's less exciting.
You know, I will say this: when everything started, it was a real bummer because a lot of magicians I feel like went out and they kind of just were looking for cookie cutter things to do for a Zoom show, and
right.
I have to be creative with everything I do. So finally, I've got a Zoom virtual show that I'm proud of. But I mean, I do a lot of, I guess you'd call asshole magic. A lot of, I'll start the show off and I'll have a virtual background and I'll do the stupid, idiotic stair illusion where you're walking down the stairs.
Okay.
Well, then the virtual background goes away and I'm actually walking down my stairs in my house. So,
okay.
I mean,
yeah, goofy gags. I like that.
Exactly.
I can get on with that.
I'm trying to find ways to be as creative as I possibly can with it. And so I gotta say that's been fun. It has, but and also with comedy, it's almost impossible to read a room.
Oh, yeah, you just kind of have to assume that they're on board with it and just kind of go with that energy. But the way that I've looked at it, because like obviously, if you gave me a choice of what kind of show I wanted to do, a Zoom show is not it. No. But for me, doing a Zoom show is just like learning anything else. Like doing a theater is not the same as doing a comedy club, which is not the same as doing a dive bar, which is not the same as doing an outdoor church benefit, which is not, which is not the same as AGT. Like it's all comedy, but they're all different energies. So this is just like, you have to learn this energy now and see what it is. Because even doing this is weird. Like we should be doing this in person. Like that's how podcasts work, but now we're doing this. I'm wearing shorts and I'm in my living room. You're sitting on my lap right now, which is kind of sexy. I'm not going to lie. And...
that's okay. So, that's actually fantastic advice. I love, dude, I love so much good, positive stuff coming out. You know what I mean? Like the way you look at things, you've got this point of view, you're looking at the silver lining, the good things out of it, virtual shows.
Yeah, I do my best. Yeah. I mean, like I said, like I'm not always the most confident person. I don't want to give this like false impression that I'm like always lemons to lemonade. Like that's not how humans work. I have my issues too, but especially when it comes to like the business and stuff like this, like this pandemic sucks. It has just gutted the entertainment industry. But we also have to like, what I'm trying to like realize to help me get through it is like, this isn't of any fault of my own. I didn't screw up to where this now happened, So, I try to pick my battles on what I'm going to get upset by. I can get upset with bookers not returning emails and all that kind of stuff because that's something you like.
That still happens to you?
Not nearly as much, but it can occasionally. But like something like this, I try not to get too upset by it because like this is just the world. I can be pissed about this and just whine about how my career is like tanking now and like all my momentum's, but like that doesn't change this because this is so much bigger than us two jackasses wanting to do our little shows, so it's like I try to put it in perspective a little bit.
I just hope like if the world does go, if the world does end, and or we're living in like colonies one day, I'm like, I don't really have any survival skills. I can't do anything with a gun or.
Yeah, I always joke to people like, because like there was like a meme that went around for a while where people like, what would your role be in the zombie apocalypse? My role in the zombie apocalypse, I would be the dude who's just like standing there like on the street, and then like a zombie comes out of nowhere and starts eating me, and then people go, oh shit, that dude's eating that guy. Like I'd be that guy. I'd be the guy being eaten. That's my role. a lot of people are like, I'm the leader of the colony, or I'm like the ninja. It's like, no, I'm the first dude that gets eaten before they even know what's happening. I'm that guy.
Okay, now let's get political for a minute, man. Let's get political.
Okay.
We got to throw one political question out here, just one.
Yeah, this should go well. But
here we go. And who do you think? Who would make a better president? Okay. Actually, you know, I'm going to make this even more wide open.
Okay.
You could choose anyone you like for president. Which alive or dead professional wrestler would make the best president?
I know it's kind of like a cliche answer because a lot of people joke that he's going to run anyway, but I would say The Rock because because for me, from at least what I know, obviously I don't know The Rock. Let me caveat with that. We're not buddies. He's not one of the wrestlers I know. So I don't know him personally, but a lot of his views seem to align with what I agree with personally, you know, and I won't get into many details, but he seems to be more in my ballpark. And also he's such like a charismatic guy that I think he could get people on board to at least give him a chance. You know,
who based off of wrestling persona character, who would make the worst president?
The worst president? I don't know. We pretty much just had him, but I would say evil Vince McMahon. Evil Vince McMahon, I think, would be the worst president. We essentially had that as the last president. But I mean, you can also go into like such, if you really want to get into like the weeds.
God, it was the McMahon family. It really was like the McMahon family.
Yeah, it was so similar. I mean, Trump and McMahon are friends in real life. So, I mean, there's a probably like as much as I love wrestling and I've been a huge WWE fan for the entirety of my life. I don't think anyone's pretending Vince McMahon's a good dude.
Yeah.
You know, like he clearly works hard and he's had some great ideas and he's made this stuff that I love. But I don't think anyone would like look at it and be like, yeah, that's a nice guy. You know, most people don't make $1 billion because they're nice people. You know, there's got to be something. You got to have some sort of like ruthlessness and you know, either that or just get lucky. And some people I think go the other way eventually. And it's just persona. That's why I get torn on someone like Bill Gates. Bill Gates says all the right things to me, but like, dude's still worth billions of dollars. Like, how do you accumulate that kind of wealth and not kind of be a dick somewhere along the line?
I mean, now the rumors were always that it was great to work for Microsoft and work for Bill Gates. That's what I never heard any negativity. And, you know, unfortunately, he is wrapped up in so many conspiracy theories now. But before any of this, Bill Gates was doing a lot of good things with his money to, you know, get rid of, I think, malaria.
Yeah. But like that's just always what, you know, it's just always hard to tell. And that's what kind of like the grain of salt that I always want to have on all these things, especially being like I'm clearly nowhere near the notoriety of someone like Bill Gates is, but like, you don't really know these people.
That's
you know,
true.
There's a lot of people that think they know who I am. There's a lot of people that whole character might be that they're dicks who might just be like the nicest people in the world, but don't like advertise it. You know, like not to toot my own horn, but like when I donate money to something, I don't make a big public post talking about what a great guy I am because I just donate the money and move on with my day. You know, because for me it's just important to do that. I don't necessarily.
And that's what
I have enough fans without doing that.
That's what it should be about. Anyways, that's what it should be about. And, you know, and I'm big on, that's another thing I'm really big on is like, and I think also being a comic, working in the comedy clubs has taught me this, is that you meet some people that are jerks and you meet people who are cool, you know? So I'm not big on meeting, all my heroes are dead. So I don't have to worry about that.
Right.
But, you know, I have met, I'm not even going to drop his name, but he was a star from a movie from my childhood that I watched. And I met this guy and he was a total jerk. And I'm like, yeah, dude, you douche. Now you just ruined the whole damn movie every time it comes on. I got to force my family to watch this. You know?
Yeah. My
So
dog's getting excited. I'm sorry. Yeah, but sometimes it can go the other way too, which I want to give, to put my positive spin on things again. There are other people too that you assume would be such douchebags who end up being the coolest guys in the world. Like one of the weirdest things to me, like I'll name drop this just because I want people to know what a nice guy he actually is. But from AGT, someone that I found out is a big fan of me and that we're buddies now is Richard Grieco.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Mr.
the weirdest thing.
Richard Grieco.
Yeah, but and like Richard Grieco, just because he's one of those '80s guys who's kind of the quote unquote washed ups. Like, I think if you would ask most people, like, "Hey, do you think that Richard Grieco would be a cool dude?" Most people would be like, "No, that old douche, no way." He's the nicest guy in the world. He getting comments on Instagram posts with fire emojis from Richard Grieco is one of the weirdest things that my life has turned into. He's the best. I love Grieco.
That's got to be crazy, man.
Yeah, it's so weird.
That's got to be nuts. So, okay, well, let's do this because you are an entertainer. And every time I have an entertainer on here, I always ask them, because one thing we can relate to is we've all had a hell gig. Do you have a good hell gig story?
I have actually been, for the most part, pretty fortunate. I haven't had a lot of dumpster fires like a lot of people have, which is nice. Probably my favorite one, though, and this ended up not being hell for me, but it was a hellish gig, and I'll explain what I mean. So I was doing this, it was in Indianapolis. This is probably 6 years ago, maybe a little more at this time. I was supposed to headline a show for $50 at this like sports bar on the south side of Indianapolis. So it's not super glamorous, but it's whatever. So it was a Sunday night show. I think it was supposed to start at like 7 p.m. or something like that. This was during football season. So we get into this bar and there's nobody there. The venue, if like you would pack it out somehow, probably could have held 200 to 300 people. There was like 7. So it was like 5 people that the guy running it had convinced to come, and then 2 career drunks, people who just hang out at that bar. So music's playing, like they're not even listening to the game. It's just like jukebox is playing, whatever. So we get in there. It's one of those gigs, and you've probably done dozens of them as well, where the people that are in the venue don't know it's comedy night. You're about to ruin their evening with your nonsense. So we get in there and hey, they do the announcement. Hey, we're going to start the show. Whatever. They start the show. So they turn the jukebox off. They let the TV stay on because it wasn't that disruptive. It was whatever. The guys weren't even listening to the game before because the jukebox was on. But as soon as the jukebox turned off, the career drunks got pissed because they didn't want us telling jokes at them. The guy who promoted the show, he was also the MC. So the drunk was heckling him. He kind of was like trying to shut him down a little bit, kind of just like, whatever, we're just going to get through it. We were told to come, yada, yada, yada. The feature goes up. No, I don't remember who the feature was at this point. Feature's doing his set, doing his 20 minutes. I guess what had happened after the MC had kind of clapped back at the career drunk, that drunk called the owner of the bar, said, "Hey, these people are pissing me off." The owner then called the bartender, said, "Shut the show down." So right after the feature was done, the host went back up and he's like, "Well, I just found out the show has been canceled and have a good night." So I still got my $50, but like, somebody is a career drunk where they didn't want to lose his business because he probably puts way more into a week than a comedy show ever would bring there.
Oh, yeah. You guys threatened that guy's MVP, so there's no way.
Yeah. But I had just never seen like such a quick turnaround.
At least you got paid, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it to the guy who ran the show. He was cool to at least follow through and still pay me. But like, man, because you know how long it can be to like get a hold of an owner when you're trying to promote stuff or get information, or okay, you got a gig and now you're trying to finalize the details and they don't get back to you. How quick that was impressive. I couldn't even be mad at the guy. I was just like, touche.
Okay, well, let me ask you this before we, get out of here. Any advice for any entertainers, musicians, any acts, anybody looking to maybe try to, get over that hurdle and maybe get on to something like AGT?
What the main thing I would suggest is make sure you enjoy what you're doing. I know like the cliche joke is like, don't even, it's whatever. But like I am well aware that I'm one of the fortunate ones. I got, I busted my ass. Like I put in a lot of work. I don't want to downplay the effort I put in, but I also got very lucky too. Because like we were saying before, there's a lot of us that put in a lot of work and that are very talented that never get that chance. So make sure, I know it's a little like sounding like your dad, but like kind of make sure that you just love this for what it is and be okay with, if you get into something like comedy because you think you're going to be famous, you will never be famous. That's not how it works. You have to do it because you just enjoy it for whatever you might enjoy it for. Some people can make a nice modest living and pay the bills, and it's great. Some people, it's just a fun thing. They just like going to open mic because they like hanging out with comics. That's fine too. But so you want to go in and not like assume that like this is my ticket to stardom. And also, man, have a backup. And I know that's not the sexiest thing in the world because you hear these stories about like, I gave it my all and didn't want to take no for an answer. Also be a little realistic and understand that for most of us it doesn't work. And if you have responsibilities, like in your instance, you have a family. You have what? How many kids do you have? One, two?
2 kids.
2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, sure, you want to bust your ass, but you have kids that you have to keep alive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like make sure you're also being responsible because as much as I love comedy also doesn't give a shit about you. It's going to exist whether you're busting your hump or not, so it's like make sure you're not like sacrificing your well-being and your family's well-being for this dream, because comedy doesn't owe you anything. It doesn't. You owe your family something though, so make sure that be passionate but make smart decisions. All right, make sure don't put your family at risk so you can tell wiener jokes. It's not worth that. So
Perfectly put. I'm telling you, you may want to pick up one of those, those life coaching gigs, man, because this is some good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this is like anytime I've ever like anyone's asked me for advice about comedy, I very rarely give advice about like material or writing because everyone has their own voice and you'll figure that out. I can give you little tips here and there. The bigger thing is just perspective on the business. Like, like someone told me when I first started, it might have been Brad Williams, who's a really good friend of mine now. But basically, like whenever you think you're ready for something, wait about 2 years or so, then you actually are. The amount of people who start this business and within 6 months are looking for a manager or trying to send a tape to the Tonight Show.
Here's my album.
Yeah, I recorded an album. I got 4 open mics if you want to buy my T-shirt. It's like because you just get excited about it, but like that's the biggest thing. Just like slow down, enjoy the process, and realize you're gonna suck for a while before you get there.
That is such great advice, man. Well, I tell you what, brother. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. Is there anything you want to plug real quick before you get out of here?
Sure. Like I mentioned before, my social medias. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's at CrippleThreat8. I'm really interactive on there. So if you message me, it's gonna be me. If you leave a comment, I'm replying. I don't have people for that or anything. So come check out there. I'll promote shows on there when they get to happen. Also, my website, cripplethreat.com. I also have a cool podcast I do with a couple of other very funny comedians. My buddy Johnny LaQuasto, who I've known for a long time. He most recently was an announcer for WWE. Unfortunately, he got kind of furloughed during the pandemic cuts. So hopefully he'll be back there eventually. But me, him, and Brent Terhune, who most of you know as the angry MAGA redneck, who he has blown up this year. It was the perfect recipe for him to blow up. So we have a podcast called The Cafeteria. So basically the theme is, we meet once a week, it's kind of like the old days of like high school where you might not get to see your friends except at lunch. And then when you come to the cafeteria table, you just talk about dumb shit. So it's like, what animal do you think you could beat in a fight? Like, it's questions like that. So we talk about things like that and just kind of, it's a lot of fun. So you can find us on all the podcasts, like the cafeteria. It's a good time. So give us a listen and a rating on there as well.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, thanks again for coming on the podcast. It's always great to talk to you, brother.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's hopefully we'll get to cross paths soon. It's been a bit. So good seeing you again, my friend. Appreciate it.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode of the Abracadamn Podcast. It's always a blast when getting to talk with Ryan. I love talking to that guy. I do want to say thank you for you guys who have subscribed and followed the Abracadamn Podcast. Keep doing so. Let your friends know. I want to give some show announcements. January 30th, I'm going to be doing a live virtual show on Zoom. You can buy your tickets to this show at brownpapertickets.com. It's only $10. We email you the link, and you and your household can sit back and watch a fun comedy show. Also on the show will be very funny Jessica Carter and hosted by Lauren Ansley. For only $10, it's a stand-up magic comedy virtual show. Definitely check it out, January 30th. On brownpapertickets.com. Get your tickets today. Well, I hope you guys did enjoy this. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode. Is going to be a very interesting. My good friend Chris Light from the American Museum of Science and Energy. She's a science teacher, and she's always a very interesting person to talk to. She's somebody that you learn something every single time you talk to her. So I'm looking forward to that episode coming out next. Until then, once again, my Abracadammits, like always, thank you for listening.
Abracadabra.